The Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century presents
Cassian Andor. I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old.
Welcome in, Rebellion recruits, to the Cassian Chronicles, brought to you by the Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century. This is our discussion and review of the Disney Plus series Star Wars Andor. And, as always, my name is Jared.
My name is Matt.
Brian.
Lindsey.
Matt,
Yes,
what is wrong with you? What has happened?
nothing. I've become infatuated with Saw Gerrera.
Oh, hey
I'm gonna be
guys.
able to tell either of you apart.
Welcome back.
You got that right, though.
Smells
Anyway.
like freedom.
It's so good. Hey everybody, welcome into the Cassian Chronicles. This is our non-spoiler show, or is this the spoiler?
Oh no,
Huh?
no! Hang on a second. Let me get my Rhydonium, my Rhydonium spoiler.
Your huffer?
Um,
Your Rhydonium
yeah.
huffer?
Spoiler huffer.
Spoiler huffer.
This is I think this is a selfie stick or a tripod or something.
Yeah, that
Here,
works.
I got to go to sequence number 5 to get it to the spoiler alert. There, see, like that. That's the. Okay, here we go. Spoiler alert. Hit it for real.
All right, there we go.
There it is. Oh man.
Episodes
See how quick I
4,
got
5,
through it this week.
4, 5, and 6, guys. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you go watch it, then listen to our show. Or if you're just a glutton for complete punishment, listen to us first and then watch the show. But we're gonna
Should
spoil
make total
everything, guys.
sense in total order. We always go in order of everything.
Yeah, we go straight through it narratively.
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost line by line.
really good.
It's a very linear show here. Oh man.
BBY
How about that
3.
scene at the end, guys?
Yeah, that was a good scene.
It was a good scene. Talking about hoods.
Oh, the hoods. That's it. Well, here we are. I think we can safely say at this time that every episode is going to open with 1 year later, something BBY.
Yep.
So just think, just like last week as we record this, there's a new episode out tomorrow. It
I know.
seems.
I do love that about doing this on Mondays. I'm like, oh my god, the new
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
After
it's
I'm
great.
like all excited talking about it, and then the new one's technically
Then it-
the day after tomorrow. But
Yeah, that's true. Brian, you watch them at the 9 o'clock drop, though, don't you?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I don't.
Lucky
I
son of a
have to
gun.
take my kids to school, but
Yeah, you don't have
I
to
don't
be
care
up
to
in
stay
the
up.
middle of the night.
no.
Yeah. Well, so, this was the first episode where we really got a taste of how they were going to be handling the time jumps. And I didn't think it was that jarring at all.
No.
I don't think we missed a whole lot of information. So stuff happened, but we were sort of filled in on that stuff.
Yeah, I think it was perfect. I think
Were we filled in on Tay though?
you have to assume Tay just
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
Tay
I
just-
wonder.
I feel like the
well,
context of. Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, Cinta and Vel had that conversation about the accident.
That's what I
No.
thought. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. That maybe that was kind of. Maybe
plot.
she had a fixed accident.
Yeah.
A
To have
designed
plausible
accident.
deniability that she was responsible. She also
Yeah.
had to be injured.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I
you
think-
know what? I didn't even think about that, but you're right.
But yeah, I
Makes
think
sense.
we assume that Tay, of course, he ate it. He's
Oh, you know it.
done. I really find the show benefits from repeat viewings because the first time I watched it, I felt that the first episode of this particular block was a little slow. But when I watched it again with Terry, I was keyed in because I knew what was going to happen, so I was able to pay attention in a different way, and it played differently to me, and I enjoyed it much more the second time through. And I think that's just how this show plays in general.
I liked this set of 3 more than the first set of 3, but not. But I think it's because the show has that great way of building on itself and the anxiety level starts to get a little higher the further you get in the show. So I mean, I enjoyed the entire thing, and you know, maybe I'm weird, but like what Andor does, and we talked about this, is it shows like the mundane so well of like the imperial life and like their boring jobs and people that like inconsequential people in the empire that you just kind of like see, and you're like, it's such a world building show for me in a universe that's already really fleshed out. I'm really getting some fun details about the early empire, which I just love. I eat it up.
And I think it does a good job, like you're saying, of showing these people are all they all existed before the Empire. They were in
Yeah.
the Republic doing jobs. Some of them are doing the same jobs they were doing before.
Yeah.
And when the Empire falls, they're not all gonna go to prison. A lot of them just keep not I don't want to say get away with it, but kind of.
Yeah, didn't we see that a little bit in some of the shows that are set after?
It's like Ahsoka. Did Ahsoka
Yeah, where
do
they're
some of
after
that?
like these ex-Imperial guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And most people are just they were there before, during, and after, but some people
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, you know, what I found interesting early on in this set of three was how Dedra is still kind of hyper obsessed with Andor and finding out the connection there. And I have a theory. And we may have already discussed this theory, but I have a
Spill
theory.
it. Spill it.
I think one of the big twists of this show is that Dedra is Andor's sister.
No.
Oh,
No
I
way.
do. I tell
No
you,
way.
I'll tell you this. We
Well-
found out that she was in an orphanage. We know that his sister which was a big part of season one.
Okay, there's a problem with your premise.
I'm telling you, it's his sister.
When his sister is little, she is a brown-skinned Hispanic girl.
They have imperial bleaching.
I can't. I can't with this.
And and Dedra is not a brown-skinned Hispanic girl.
I'm telling you, it's going to be there. It's
I
going to be
don't-
the big.
Okay.
It's going to be the big twist.
Hey,
I
you
don't
need
buy
to lay off that rhydonium, buddy.
What?
Yeah, that rhodonium's hitting really hard.
My clothes melted as I thought about this.
You know, I was thinking about his sister though. I was like, man, I wonder if it's it's going to be like B2. It's just another sad thing that we just never get
Well,
to see.
It's Dedra.
I don't know if you want to know this, but Tony Gilroy is doing interviews every single
Nope.
week.
I don't want to know.
Okay.
If it's about the sister, I don't want to know.
It's about the sister.
I don't want to know. Nope.
Well,
Well, as long as the sister isn't Bix, we're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, it's his Star Wars now.
That's
Yeah,
sad.
it's that wouldn't be unfamiliar territory. So
I mean,
no, but
Well,
we have been pushing the envelope a little bit.
So we find that that the Ghorman plan is underway. We find that Ghorman is now having a citadel or an armory
Yes.
quietly being built in the center
Quietly,
of town.
that giant building.
And it's interesting because we find out some cool stuff in this 3 episodes about why Ghormans are so upset with where this building's being put, and it's violation of all kinds of imperial law and stuff, and it's really fascinating. We find out that Moff Tarkin is a sadistic SOB. If we didn't already figure that out.
Yes.
Yeah.
He landed a cruiser on top of 500 people,
Yeah,
which
crushed
I
them.
think we talked about on the show last week. That's from the old legends, and you Matt, you dropped an article into our group chat about the same thing. It comes from a 1990 West End Games source book,
Yeah.
which that's a deep cut.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and because the Gorman thing has been around since 1990.
It's pretty wild. I mean,
And-
that's almost as long as Star Wars itself.
Well,
You
yeah,
think Return of the Jedi came out in '83? So.
yeah, but that those source books were the things that kind of kept the heartbeat of Star Wars going between the end of the movies and into when the publishing really ramped up in the early 90s.
Yeah.
So
We find that Cyril has a stately job now on
Yes.
Ghorman. He's
Yeah, it was kind of funny at first because it's like, well, did they go separate ways, he and Dedra, and then
I
you
figured
find
he
out
was
otherwise.
he was a plant the second I saw him there.
Same.
with
Once
his
when he was arguing with his mom, I was like, nope, I don't believe it.
Well, it's interesting too that Cyril is in this position, but I think we find out later that Deirdre is playing four-dimensional chess, and
Yeah.
she is manipulating Cyril.
Yeah, I think Cyril is a loose end that is going to be dealt with one way or the other.
And yeah, and there's all these layers going on, and but for his part, I think Cyril is he's I found it quite amusing when he was faux outraged at the when they came in there wanting to do the audit on his
Yeah.
office.
Yeah.
And he's like
Stomps
kicking,
around.
he's like kicking things, and he's like, "This is just great."
So we find out
His
that
pit.
we find out that Cyril understands that his office is bugged. So every communication he does is very carefully manipulated and manicured. And he visits Coruscant briefly
Yes.
for 1 hour to see
What?
Dedra.
What?
Turn out the lights.
Turn out lights.
Turn out the lights.
Well, he stays there a little longer because I guess he sleeps at his mom's house.
1 hour.
'Cause
He had 1
they're
hour. with
eating
Deborah.
cereal again.
That was
Yeah.
one of my favorite scenes of the entire show. Is his
He's
mother?
like, what should I call this spider? Should I call it Cyril?
But Cyril's
Horrendous.
he's being kind of like he's bugged by the resistance on Ghorman, and they kind of identify him as a possible ally that they
Sympathizer.
a sympathizer that they could bring on board, and
But-
and then he's in and he plays the part very well.
And something about the writing on this show that is crazy is that, Cyril thinks he's getting in, but these Gorman rebels are rank amateurs at this. And so Cyril thinks he's being clever by getting in with them, but then we find out, well, they don't really know a whole lot about this espionage stuff because Cassian sort of blows that up when he visits them, and he's like, "These people are stupid."
It is crazy how, because what we were talking about last week about Cassian being the main character of this show, and he goes to the Gorman rebels and he's like, actually F this, and he leaves.
Yes, he leaves
And
early.
I was like, okay, he's done.
But
he's just
but
done.
I
He's
am
like,
done
"Hey,
with this.
I'm
These
done."
people.
But it's that's why it's brilliant
It's
because
good, it's
Cassian
really
sees it and he's like, these people are all going to get killed if they start doing this stuff. And Luthen is like,
And Luthen's just like,
Uh-huh.
and
He's
so
like,
they die.
wants it.
So what?
and
100%. You're
okay.
right.
and Luthen wants it, and Deirdre wants it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's this crazy, when you pull back and look at the whole picture, it's you got all the yarn and the strings going all over the bulletin board,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
and it's fascinating.
But I like
Speaking
how.
of which,
I'm sorry. Go on.
oh yeah. Speaking of which, last week it was mentioned that, I think Jared mentioned this, that Luthen's kind of losing it. Like he's kind of, and he admits that in this, how he can't keep track of everything.
I
and
mean,
he's-
Yeah,
Yeah, his
It
fight
makes
with Clea
sense.
was great. Where she's
Yeah.
like, she's like, are you done? This isn't productive. You just want to fight with me. And he's like, yep. And that's just what I'm going to keep doing.
But I
no
mean,
wonder.
I get
think
it.
She
I mean,
knows everything.
that's a lot to handle over and over. A lot of layers to stack up,
Yeah.
and to keep
Yes.
keep all the lies to keep straight. Man.
and all these things are coming at them like, of course they've got problems with these rebels, and he's probably worried about whatever Saul is doing, and then something as simple as Skulden finding a fake sculpture in his collection, which has really nothing to do with the Alliance or anything, that could wreck one of their biggest, if that could bring them down if that's discovered.
Yeah.
And they address that, and he's like, I guess Luthen throws it back at Clea and says, "Hey, yeah, well, I told you that was going to happen," and she's like,
You
"Okay."
told me to do this.
She's like, well, you agreed. You agreed. Like,
Yes,
it is what it is now. We just have to go get it.
but that's interesting that something as unrelated and simple as, oh, Skulden found out he has a fake sculpture, and now everything's going to go straight to hell.
And
So-
that's what really these three episodes are dealing with, right? You've got the Gorman resistance that are on to the fact that an armory is being built, and they want to prove it because they want to do like a heist on some transports and prove there's weapons in them.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the Luthen problem right now, where they know that it's a bug in an art piece where high-profile guests and Imperials are going to be, saying he can't be discovered there. And then you got Bix, who is having her own problems this entire 3 episodes, with drug use and trauma and dealing with that. And so you got all this mixed up, and it's all coming to a head.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Oh, I was going to say that I'm going to have my whole collection vetted now.
Yeah, I know. All of your stuff.
There's a listening device somewhere in this mess.
Yeah,
that would take you forever.
Probably.
That would be a true nightmare. Luthen only had like 20 pieces.
Yeah, exactly. But so when well, crap. Now what did I say? Scolded? Why? Crap. I'm like Luthen now. I'm starting to lose my mind. I can't remember where I'm at.
You made me think of someone said something about Cassian and Bix, though. It's Jared. Sorry. Did you find where you were?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I was gonna wait till you found it.
Okay. And me and Lindsey talked about this on our podcast that we do, the HSN Chronicles.
round the pre-pro table.
Yeah, at 5:30 in the morning, we're sitting there talking.
And you chastise us on the channel.
Listen.
Yes.
So, Lindsey, you felt differently about this, but I felt a different way. When Luthen showed up at Bix's apartment, I thought, and when I was watching with Terry tonight, she's like, oh boy, he's going to kill her.
I kind of thought that too. I kind of thought that
well,
was
I thought that then. I didn't think it by the end.
By the end of their scene, that
by the end of the 3 episodes. Oh, okay. I thought it in that scene. I was like, ooh, but I did start to think though, I started to not think it even by the end of the scene, because Cassian would know it was him, and he doesn't want to lose Cassian. So I was like, there's no way he's gonna do this. The best he could do is make it look like an accident.
Yeah, and tonal, it just didn't seem right tonally with just their conversation, the music. It just didn't seem like that was going to happen.
I mean, I think initially, I think the menace sort of melted away a little bit as the scene went on, because he's talking about, I used to stay here, and then he's like,
you can tell he feels bad for her,
and he picks up the little vial of drops or whatever, and he's like, look, this is only going to end bad. So he goes, I need you healthy. And, I don't know if that's going to make much of a difference for her at this point.
And what's interesting? He says Cinta and Vel, is it Vel or Val? Vel, they talk about how he's basically like, Luthen thinks they would be both better off separately, like alone, if one of them was gone. Like they'd be more valuable to him.
Well, yeah, I think the thing,
they're more valuable separate.
Yeah, and but he still does pair them up because she asks. So he does have this element of like not wanting any of them to get all up in their feelings about anything, and not respecting that, and not having his own, but still doing it because they're kind of like, I won't help you if you don't.
Well, but I think Luthen's reaching a point where he's just, these are pawns for him.
But that's what I mean.
He's going to have to turn it off and say, it doesn't matter what happens to you or me or anything.
Right.
He's using up these people. He's going through them.
I agree, but I guess what I mean is like they're not actively letting him do that. They're like
they're pushing back a little.
No, actually, you need to treat me as a human with feelings, or I'm gonna screw you even more than you could imagine.
And then he manipulates them, and he placates them, but it's all manipulation. I mean, Luthen is just playing the game.
I agree, and I think they'll, he's still trying to be the cool dad, I think, but.
When he sends them on their revenge mission at the end, I was like, okay. He's trying to get them back on his side.
He's throwing them a bone. Like, I don't think he cares about that doctor guy.
No.
Right.
But he knows it's the best way to get Bix back on board.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. He had that conversation with Lonnie early on about how, he wanted stuff more in real time. Couldn't wait to get information. Then Lonnie he finds out about the Gorst project, him becoming, starting that project, and then they get the message, the signal from the tower for the mission, and then you don't see them again till the end when they fulfill the mission.
They go on Gorst.
Yeah,
which we'll finish our talk in detail about that. That was a great scene. You know what I loved? Well, first off, again, we say it every time we talk about the show, but the show looks beautiful. Everything about the show looks amazing.
Fantastic.
Every scenery, every cityscape. I love seeing the Senate building with the reflection pond that they're walking. It was fantastic. I saw this cool picture where they did it from Phantom Menace to the Senate, and then they showed it like during Andor's time, and it was so cool. Like the
wow, that's cool.
But it looks so real, and it looks amazing. It just looks great. And what else do we do? We saw Dakar. Is that what
Dakar? Yes, that's a reprise from Force Awakens, where the Resistance has their base.
Yeah.
In those the concrete bunkers in those berms, and they come back to that. I mean, it's an old rebel base that obviously Saw abandons it in this particular block of episodes.
Saw Gerrera does not disappoint at all whenever he's on screen.
Yeah, and Willman showing up with that contraption.
Oh man,
that was crazy.
He's a boy.
I mean, like
that's a prop right there.
Do you all think that Willman actually created that? I think he did. I think he actually built that machine.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe
he's obviously a talented engineer.
I mean, he's a mechanic.
Yeah, he's really coy about
he doesn't
how to use it
about and how he knows everything about it. It's almost like he was the creator of it, but he wasn't willing to say it.
And Saw says he's like, there's a lot of these pipe jockeys. I think he calls them. He's like, only a few old pipe jockeys know how to do what you're doing, and they're all dead. And,
so how do you know how to do
So why don't
exactly.
Why don't you go into some detail? What is this thing? What does it do?
It's it refines rhydonium. It's basically like if we had a portable thing that could refine gasoline. Like if you just feed it crude oil, it would pump out gasoline.
So
but for your own private use. So essentially
were they getting it out of a oil, like not oil,
like a pipeline?
Like something that was already extracting it from
I think they were extracting raw, I don't know, for lack of a better term, rhydonium, and refining it, and all the different variations you need, I would just assume is a different, this works in an X-Wing fighter, this works in a cargo ship.
So Saw Gerrera had him come to his camp to teach one of his team members how to use the machine and how to learn all the 8 sequences to make it work. And it's very complicated, and you need to do it in a certain way, or else the rhydonium blows up and kills you all. So Willman spends like several days teaching one person how to do this.
Booty.
And it's kind of a cool conversation because you finally Saw pulls him aside and he says,
"Can you do this? Can you make it work?"
And the guy's like, "Look, if you just give me one sequence to focus on and let me know where we're gonna do it, man, I can nail this sequence." And Saul realizes, I need the guy who brought it here to make this work. Yeah, I'm never gonna get this thing to work the way I want if I don't have Willman doing this. So he sets up his boy for a fall.
Man, that was kind of a surprising scene. Although,
I kind of saw it coming. Let's be honest.
Well, I guess, but it's still shocking. Like, bam! Oh crap!
I was a little shocked by it. I couldn't tell which way it was going to go because the show would kill Willman there.
Yeah,
True.
and
I would have believed that.
In fairness, the show will still kill him.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
I thought it was cool to contrast to that. Saw sussed out his fake sympathizer not quickly, but sussed him out. Whereas like no one's sussing Cyril out. Like they're not. I think he's so paranoid and distrustful, but he's right. So,
well, was Pluty? Was he just set up?
I think Saw set him up.
Like, did Saw just plant that thing on him and go, "Oh look, he's transmitting to the Empire"?
I thought it was real.
I thought Saw set him up and be like,
I thought it was real
just
too.
to get.
I thought it was real.
Also, to send a message to Willman that you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But why? Because that would make me wonder, though, because obviously Saw's rebels, he has a bunch of people that are willing to follow him. And like he gets Willman on his crazy vision quest or whatever that frick, get him, whatever. His gasoline vision quest. He gets him to join.
The gasoline vision quest.
Best way to put it.
And so he clearly, he has something that's drawing people in other than being like amazing Forrest Whitaker. But like, I feel like he wouldn't, I don't know. I don't know. I thought it was real. I guess we don't know.
Well,
that speech he gave Willman though when they're doing the refining on that planet, I thought was very cool because I mean we learned a lot about Saw. We learned a lot of.
Yeah, you did. Do you remember where we first saw Saw? Saw?
In Rebels?
No,
right? Was it Rebel? No, it was
in the Clone Wars.
Clone Wars, yeah.
And he talks about that in the speech. He's on the jungle planet of Onderon, and that's from the Clone Wars.
real jungle,
hot,
real jungle,
and he basically gives a little, just sort of a little biography of himself. Because that's the first time we saw him was in the Clone Wars, and that was
but he was
years
an adult
before
when we met
Rogue.
him. He was a young man.
He was like in his 20s.
So we learned that when he was a boy, he was kind of like forced labor to mine this stuff.
Yeah, and he moves that metaphor forward in a way. He's like, none of us are going to see the Republic come back.
That's the part right there that I thought was amazing, and that's what turned him onto his vision quest. Really was that he's like, none of us are going to survive this. We're all pawns and cannon
fodder.
He's like, you
might as well get high.
Live now is really what he's saying.
breathe.
And then poor Willman's like,
he's like, am I crazy? Yeah,
so good,
I'm crazy.
So I love that. So the what's it called? The
Rhydonium.
So what
he calls it the Rhydo.
He calls it Rhydo. Yeah,
he calls it his sister.
His sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got Willman. He's all masked up. He can't, because he can't breathe this stuff. And here's all Saw. He goes up and he's huffing it right from the source.
And he goes, "How are you doing that?"
You're not
Which,
dead.
I
is why he has the big thing.
But it's also making him crazy. That's we're seeing.
That's Rhydo in it.
Yeah, possibly. Are you got some Rhydo over there, Matt? What's going on?
Deception.
Yeah, but that whole scene, I really loved it.
Yeah.
Him saying, we're none of us are going to make it out of here. I got to say, the Star Wars nerd in me loved the next shot where the camera moves over Pluty's body and you see the X-Wings taking off and that transport. And then they all jump to light speed.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the POV light speed on behind that X-Wing.
Yeah, it was cool.
That was fantastic. I just love that crap. But one
thing about that Lindsey and I kind of thought it was legit that the guy was a traitor was that it was mentioned that, hey, they're going to be over at this one location and we're going somewhere else entirely, was actually brought up.
Oh, you think he was...
I thought that was legit. Yeah. Like they're gonna be there and we're gonna be somewhere else.
That's kind of what sold it for me. Not the little transmitter, but more that.
I guess it speaks to Saw that it really could go either way.
Right.
I got the impression that the guy's like, look, I can only do this one combination. And so I was like, I can't use you. I need this. I need the other guy. I need the guy who can make this thing work.
But he's not. But I just feel like that guy, if he was actually loyal to Saw, he could still be useful in some other way.
I think it's very simple. I think Saul recognizes I need to get stuff done. Why am I wasting my time with this? I can go right to the source.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go on to Lindsey and Brian's team now.
Yes.
Because Pluty says, well, if Saul really believed Pluty, and Pluty says, well, let's just bring Willman with us. I mean, he's a good engineer. If nothing else, we'd have another person.
Mm-hmm.
And, if Saul was cool, he'd be like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Why
Let's
not?
go.
Why not just bring both of them?
Yeah. But no, Pluty, you're not coming with us because you're full of crap and you're ratting us out.
Pluty being like, if I just knew which one, man, I could do it.
And
that feels like...
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree. And I'm open to him being a traitor.
Traitor! Show him!
I mean, this is exactly what they want us to be doing. Is questioning.
Yeah, that's
Two tubes. Show them.
2 tubes.
Yeah, he's all 2 tubes.
Jesus
Oh man, that was creepy.
Yeah, I love
that
two
came in
tubes.
through my headphones.
I'm sorry.
Crazy. It's hitting some decibel.
I remember when me and Matt saw Rogue One together. Matt's like, I love that alien. Two tubes.
Yeah, he's my
because
favorite.
he just looks like a classic Star Wars creature.
Yeah,
He's really cool looking.
Compared to last season, we're getting a little bit more creature stuff.
Oh yeah,
There's a lot of creatures.
The big furry guy from Rogue One.
Yeah.
He's in it this time. And
what's that purple-headed woman in Luthen's shop talking to Clea?
Oh yeah, that was wild looking. She was crazy.
She had some,
for just a quick scene too.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot in this. We saw a lot in the Senate too. A lot of new creatures talking.
Like that guy that was in Palpatine's.
Stand.
Who was,
he was weird looking.
Yeah, he was kind of strange.
But
or something.
Here's something. Again, me and Lindsey talked about on our podcast.
What?
I did feel that at many times the Ghormans were a little too on the nose French.
Listen,
the line for me was
the Russian too, though.
The beret.
the guy in the vest.
Everything was fine to me because I feel like everything is like a natural analog to our real life. It makes sense. The berets were too much.
Well, yeah,
it was very French.
They probably could have, and it's obviously the French resistance to.
Right. Yes.
That's what we're led to believe, but a little on the nose. I'm like, does Cyril really need to be wearing a beret? Come on. And let's go back to Cyril here. And Cyril's invited to this. Now, I can't figure out if this is obviously not some secret meeting.
No, it was like a town hall meeting is what it
yes,
was.
Yeah.
But why the subterfuge in saying, do you want to come? There's a note inside your spider butt. And I just don't.
So the Imperials aren't clocking that Cyril is someone who would go.
And then I guess they did keep him after everyone had left.
Yeah, I think it's just like you can feel him out. Just be like, hey, want to come into the town hall? Get a little flavor for him. And you know.
I mean, there were only like 4 or 5 of them left at the end. I mean, including
that's
Cyril.
true. And it's interesting too, their language. It sounds like French.
Yeah.
But it is not French.
Right.
Because I remember French from high school. They're not saying words.
No, it's just with a French accent.
Yeah, it's so that I think
it's
that
cool.
is kind of interesting.
It sounded a little Russian. To me,
Terry picked up on the Russian thing too.
I just know the father is the guy from Inglourious Bastards, if you remember him.
Oh, the gray-headed dude?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
He's the one that got put on his knees and got the baseball bat.
Oh, geez.
Oh, dang. I did not remember him from that.
I'm gonna go back and watch that now.
He's but I think. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, after Cyril meets the group and kind of gets in, kind of gives them a little information about the transports, and he's playing his part. I liked it when he's back on Coruscant with Dedra and her boss, and he's debriefing the boss. And I loved it when the boss is like, "Good work, Cyril," and he leaves. He's like, "Would it be inappropriate for me to say this is the happiest day of my life?" And you can see like Cyril has reached the apex, which again goes to show that I don't think Cyril is going to defect to the rebellion.
No.
Yeah.
He's and to the core.
Yeah.
I've got
Dedra's like, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
But then we
She's
hear
like,
later on
okay.
her boss is like, he can never know, what's really happening, because I think that means Cyril is going to be disposed of.
I think I got to talk about a part of Guest for a moment as one of the great classic Imperial.
Oh yeah,
like very much in the Tarkin mold.
Oh my God, so good.
Yes, the old British man, but he does such a good job with it. And I think we talked last season. It's like it should be boring, but I could listen to him give an Imperial briefing, just talking about stuff.
I love it.
And
every
it's
time he's on screen, he's great.
Yeah, well, he's quick paced about it too.
Yes,
he doesn't waste a bunch of time on one subject.
He doesn't. Yes, he doesn't like meander through conversation. He just says exactly
direct.
what he
and
needs to say.
He acknowledges everybody in the room who could have an idea. He's like, no, tell us what you have. And he does. There's not really a hierarchy.
Thank you for
there.
showing us how this room is meant to work.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
it's interesting that they're also afraid to speak their mind, and yet so far all we've ever seen when anyone does is he respects it. So
Yeah,
I will
it's
say
a weird vibe.
the level of fear is growing in that room. His
Yeah,
subordinates
I think
are
it's with
getting
each
more
other.
and more nervous. And oh no, it's great. The intrigue and like
And when Deidre goes up to, I call him Loki,
Loki.
the guy who looks kind of like Tom Hiddleston, and she's like, he's like, basically, hey, you're off axis. That's none of your business anymore.
Wasn't
you know what she's saying? She's
in
like, "What's
season
the
one?
details of my brother?"
Yeah, he was her assistant.
Her assistant. Yeah. in
Oh,
season
that's
one.
right.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And she's like, well, I could help you, and he's like, that's fine. I don't need your help. Uh-oh, I heard a meow. Did somebody yell? Am I hearing things?
What's going on, meow?
Anyway, forget I said that.
Whoa. Would
Um,
you
You've been
see where it
taking
came
some
from
of that
when you edit later?
Bix eyedropper there, buddy.
Yeah, I was like, I think it was my cat.
It
actually.
helps
I'm
with
sorry.
your dreams,
Yes.
but they come
Yeah,
back worse.
mine's out there somewhere.
Okay. Well, maybe
Yeah,
it's all the
maybe I just didn't
Rhydonium
hear
I'm sucking down.
All my cats are dead.
Yeah.
Oh God.
They are. Yeah. Amidala lived to be like 27 or something.
Aw. That's amazing.
Almost made it to 21. She's
Longer
almost
than the
legal.
princess did.
Well, so anyway, I loved when Cassian visited the Ghormans because he really takes them to school very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
The one girl
and he's very, very pretty.
Yes. You like him with his slick
That's
back
what
hair.
And that's what he says. He's like,
Yeah.
I was very, very pretty.
What was his name? I can't remember what his name
Something. Yeah, I know.
It started with a V or something. But he basically tells all these guys, look, you're doing this completely wrong. And, but they think they think because they have Cyril that, they really got something here. And, Cassian almost immediately is like, what do you know about this guy? He could be telling you anything.
He
goes
clocks everything immediately.
Yes.
You can't trust this guy just because you think so.
No.
And also, what is the point of your entire mission? To prove something you already know? What's that going to do?
Yeah, exactly. And he goes, and then what?
Varian Sky.
Yeah,
Varian Sky.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, what are you going to do? You have nowhere to go. You come back here and live and work right next to them.
You're going to telegraph it and then, talk about it, and here's where you live.
And
he's right.
Again,
he's right.
That's why I really enjoy the way this is laid out, because Cassian's like, hey, look, stop. Luthen's like, no, let him. Cyril and Deidre are like, no, let him.
Isn't it funny? And it could have worked. I mean, it's such a razor's edge of which way it falls. Whether it could be an Imperial or a rebellion kind of thing.
And here's where I really see the callousness of Luthen is when they have their conversation in the ship. And, he's like, all these people are going to die. And, Luthen's like, well, it will burn very brightly. But he doesn't care because what he needs is trouble. He needs this to be a big deal, a stink. Mm-hmm. And Cassian's like just trying to save people. So,
I hadn't really thought about this. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm done.
Oh, I was gonna say I hadn't really thought about this before, but if you have the Ghormans causing trouble, that kind of takes a little bit of the heat off of him. In a sense,
a little bit.
And
I mean, you need in a rebellion like this, which, by the way, we have to get to the party and who attended the party, because that's a great scene too. But one person's rebels, another person's terrorist, right? It really is how the message works.
Krennic.
And it's like, Ghorman is an interesting thing. It's like Luthen knows. He's like, this is what we need to get not just people on our side, but like planets on our side, civilizations on our side. This is the kind of scale that we need.
This is a rich, privileged, wealthy world, and if bad things are happening to them, everyone else is going to realize that bad
Absolutely.
things
And
can happen
he
to us
sees
too.
that, which is
It's a
something
symbol.
that Andor and he calls Andor out right away. Andor's like, I'm thinking like a soldier. And he's like,
Think like a leader.
think like a
Think
leader.
like a leader, yeah.
Which is exactly at this stage what has to happen. If you are trying to get to the end game, you can't do it, piecemeal. You got to do big events, big set pieces to have things, go off. And Luthen knows that. And Andor's starting to realize that, I think. Though he's not quite ready to admit it.
I think you're right.
There's a lot of morals there getting in the way, and I think those things erode.
And that's why he still feels like he needs to tell these people not to go through with anything they're planning. Which
is a very honest and human thing to do. I mean, my God, if you know these people are going to get slaughtered, how can you knowingly go into it? But yet, there are some operatives that have no problem pulling this off.
Yeah. Well,
I think Cassian, when we see him in Rogue One, sorry to jump all the way ahead, but he wants to be like this. I think at the beginning of that movie, like that's who he wants to be ruthless like that. But we're seeing in the show how he just quite can't do it, and then we obviously see in the movie how he just can't quite do it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's cool to see him. I was thinking he was very different in this than he is in Rogue One, but I think it's just more of the same thing that he just wishes he could be a little more ruthless than he ends up being.
Well, he can't assassinate Galen Erso.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so he still has that his conscience.
Mm-hmm. Very deep down in there by Luthen and whoever.
So let's talk about this party scene where Krennic, I mean, that was a great little reveal. He just kind of steps out of nowhere.
Well, before Krennic, I love how Mon Mothma and her husband are in like their limo going to these parties. And it's interesting when you start hearing what they're talking about, saying like, yo, you remember you had to be in the Senate for like 5 years before we could host one of these. And he says, now this year there's 80 new senators hosting them this year alone. And he's like, you can see how the Empire is starting to create these individuals in the Senate that are now puffing up and being more like present and trying to be a little more in the Imperium's eye. Because as he's saying, like back in the day, nobody would allow you to have a party this early on in your tenure here, but now everybody's having them. So things are changing. The systems are changing. And it's a subtle call out, I think. But you go to this ridiculous party, which is hilarious because all the actors in that party, I'm like, I've been to parties like that. That's exactly how people are like that. Like they nailed it completely.
Although Perrin and Mon, they seem to be getting along okay. I mean, at least in that scene.
Did you get the dig though? Did you get the dig?
What's the dig?
He's like, how are we ever going to fake? Like we have to fake all this stuff, and she's like, oh, I'm sure, like something like, I'm sure you'll figure it out. Like there's a little dig in there, like
sure,
none of this is real between us, so you'll figure it out.
We got our first look at the recast Bail Organa.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a good,
it's
good
a little
fit.
jump scare for me, but I agree.
Scare.
Jump scare.
I was like,
no,
what?
He did all right.
I was like, where's Jimmy Smits?
It's like the Ozempic Bail Organa.
The Ozempic. Well, I think Benjamin Bratt has the right look.
I do too.
And he seems great. I was just
and
like,
I think that
I saw a little like before that the show came out. I saw something about that. So I'm like,
I think the only reason he was in this like cameo this week is because they wanted to establish, hey, this is Bale now. This is what he looks like. It's a different guy. And, be very specific. Oh, Bale, how are you? And blah, blah, blah.
Which is good because I'm over
it
now by the time I see him in a full episode.
Yeah. And I think he's obviously has a bigger part to play in the episodes that are coming.
I think it's refreshing too to see just a recast, they didn't try to rewrite it because obviously Bail Organa is huge. At this time,
they didn't deep fake Jimmy Smits.
Didn't deep fake him. They're just like recast. No big deal.
Yeah.
Good actors.
Seems weird to me though. It seems weird to me though that they couldn't work out something to get Jimmy Smits back.
Jimmy Smits apparently was shooting 2 television shows already, and they could not. They just couldn't work it out.
I'm perfectly fine with it. It doesn't bother me.
No, I think, I was wondering that too about Cinta, because I was like, well, obviously everyone in the show is probably not long for the show, but I was like, damn, we just got her back. But I think she's the new companion in Doctor Who. That
Oh,
actress.
she's in Doctor Who.
Hmm.
So
yeah, so she also was like doing something else.
Everybody's like, okay, well, I'm going to die in this show anyway. So it's there's but then Jimmy Smits was probably like, hey, look, I'm still alive in Rogue One. I just don't have time to do this.
I know.
Yeah. Bale died almost 50 years ago.
Yeah, he did. He died in 1977, Bale Organa. So at this party, this fantastic scene where, Lonnie's there with Clea, basically her just saying, hey, stand here.
Oh, that's so funny.
And she's like, it's stuck.
It was pretty intense, though, that scene. I mean,
yes.
Her trying to get that out.
Yes.
So explain the room. So only a few party guests in this vast party are invited into this private viewing. Mm-hmm. And
well, I've only seen that episode once, so somebody else will have to describe
it's like
it.
all the top tier guests. There's a handful of people, and it doesn't seem like they were questioning why Lonnie and some other guy was in there.
I thought
that's why Clea tries to be like, this is why I'm flirting with you and pretending like I'm inviting you into this art show because I want to show you stuff.
Yeah,
and obviously she knows Lonnie is an operative.
So in this room is that art piece that we mentioned earlier has a microphone that they planted a long time ago. And unfortunately, one of the pieces in this room was just recently discovered as being a fake. Not that one, but another one. So what's the guy's name?
Skulden.
Skulden is so pissed off. He wants all the pieces to be evaluated for authenticity. So they're all going to be like really picked over and looked at. So they have to get this microphone out at this party. It's the only chance they have before all these pieces are taken away and inspected. So you've got Skulden and you've got Mon Mothma and her husband, and you've got Krennic, which is a great little surprise that he was there. They're going over different pieces, and in the corner you've got Lonnie and what's her name, Clea. And she's trying to like position him. Stand to the left, and he's like, "Oh, I can't believe this. We have to get out of here right now."
He's absolutely not listening to her at all, and she's just she's keeping it so cool, and it relies so much on the subterfuge that they've set up, her and Luthen, of like being these art people that no one is questioning.
Why
they're over there by themselves.
Yeah, but you get some great dialogue between Mon Mothma and Krennic. He's like, "Oh my god!" She's like, "So nice to see you outside of the witness stand."
It's so good.
Their digs are so good on each other.
You can just see the hate they just seething at each other.
They sell it for sure on that.
And I don't think we've seen. We didn't see Krennic and Mon Mothma together before. Yeah, I mean, they weren't in Rogue One. They didn't share any scenes, so that's really cool.
Yeah, but and Lonnie was being downright belligerent over there, actually.
I'm like, bro, just listen to this woman. Do what she says.
I know. That was the most intense part about the scene is he wasn't following directions.
And Lonnie is Luthen's son, right?
Well, we theorized that he's Luthen's son.
Yes.
Because they have these meetings, and in last season, I think it's implied somewhat.
Right?
Yeah.
But nobody knows this.
No.
Which is great, because you see Lonnie losing his mind in this room. Put both of your thumbs on it. Hold it still.
It's stuck.
And she's like, also pay attention to what I'm telling you about it because they're going to ask you about it.
That's
so not only does he have to handle that situation, he has to remember the weird history facts about this thing.
And they make it around the room, and then Krennic's like, what's he say? He's like, "This is your favorite piece. Why don't you tell us about it?" As she's trying to rip the microphone out, her hand's bleeding because it's so stuck in there. So good.
I did notice the day after this episode aired, they had the Krennic dress uniform figure ready for pre-order.
Oh, yeah, with the black stripe.
Yeah, with his fancy, duds there.
See, they don't know what people spend money on. I want the thing that was on Clea's neck that unscrewed the thing. Like, I'll buy that.
Her little
Give me
clasp.
that. Yes.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's because she pulled that off there.
I like how
Regal Robot will put that out.
They probably will.
At the end where Luthen, who feels a little better now, I guess, is walking out of the party with her, and he's like,
We should have killed Krennic.
Yeah, I know. Like,
Having a laugh about it.
I know they sort of let their hair down a little bit.
Oh my God, they're giddy.
Yeah.
We should have killed him when we were there.
It's just like you're welcome, handing them the microphone.
So we go ahead.
I was saying, meanwhile, back on Ghorman.
Okay, so they're trying to pull off this heist. So Cinta and Vel are assigned
Which,
to
by the
them.
way, I'm sorry. Only small little critique of the 3 episodes. I always have to have some critique. Is we had a heist in season 1. And I felt, we're having a heist again in season 2.
Well, it's different. I mean, they were stealing money and everything in the first one, but
I just thought, I'm like, all right.
So, it's interesting. They're like, they tell them, you guys are not gonna. We're the only ones that are gonna have guns because
Key point.
I think they know. They're like, these are idiots. They don't. These people. They think, hey, we're going to stop this train car and all this stuff. And it actually, and you'll have to refresh my memory because I've only watched this one once. But when, they have the tube that they throw the stuff down into.
Right. So the plan is they're gonna intercept one of the transports.
Correct.
Right by an access tube to like the sewer.
Yes.
And they're going to lower all the weapons down where another transport's waiting to take it out. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the plan. And it kind of goes off to...
They actually get it right.
Pull it off.
Yes. And one thing from earlier in the arc that I liked, I think it was Deidre or Partagast that said, they have to know what it feels like to win.
Yeah, they were allowed to get it right.
Yes. They didn't want them... the Empire wanted them to do this. Like Partagast was like, okay, we'll have, minimal security.
Minimal response. That's going to be loud.
Maybe I forget if they addressed this. How did Cyril know where this was going down?
He
was
in
not
with the
actually.
Group. He's kind of in.
But he wasn't a part of the plan.
I think he has to I think you have to assume that they've kind of...
Yeah.
Quietly, they're not that tight of they're not that smart of a group.
Cyril was like the man on the ground.
Yeah.
He was the man on the ground who, he was feeding, I guess, Deidre live what was happening. But
I just was trying to remember how he knew where exactly that was going to happen.
I think
there may have only been minimal locations too where it could have happened.
Because remember, he was giving them.
You're right. He found the transport for them. You're right.
By the way, I thought
he looked at it first. There it is. There it is. Sorry, I can just can't remember.
When the transport was hit, I liked how heavy it was. Because it's on suspensors, and when it lands, it just destroys the whole road.
Oh yeah, like the lightning effect, and then the.
I thought it was cool. Like that's how heavy the transport really is. And
that's when you don't have backup wheels. What's this?
Hey, listen, you only need repulsor lifts in Star Wars.
So they have 6 minutes. They have 6 minutes to unload the stuff. They're doing a great job. They're getting all the weapons down, and then one of the drunk townspeople who was belligerent at the town meeting.
Was he the guy who did like the flipping off motion?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He shows up, and the town leader's son, who is not supposed to have a blaster, pulls a blaster.
Who's the biggest idiot of them all?
Yeah.
Moral of the story: these dumb dudes need to listen to these rebel
women.
That's right. when they tell you what to do.
I mean, you could have telegraphed that this guy was going to be the problem, and he was the problem. And a stray shot went off. And what's her name that got hit?
Vel.
Cinta.
Cinta
gets hit.
And here's something that this show does, and it did it in the last arc, and it doesn't allow you tearful goodbyes. The people are already dead by the time the other person gets to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like Brasso last week, and in the first season. Cassian's adopted mother died off screen.
Is that going to happen with Bix? Bix ain't going to make it. She's done in the next 3 episodes.
Well,
Luthen, Bix, they're all going down.
Well, that's and I think B2 is going to be killed in front of Cassian. Just to make it completely terrible.
Cassian, I love you forever.
And he's going to get stepped on by an AT-AT. I don't know. That's not true. But yeah, so how did
Sunta gets killed, and
so she's dead, and how did this third episode wrap?
with the doctor.
Oh yes,
I just want to
okay.
say I really love Vel's speech to that kid who accidentally killed her. I was like,
she wore him out.
Tell him. Oh, it was good.
And then
You'll
the last
carry her
scene.
forever to the end of your miserable life.
Yeah, but you know what though? You know what she's also doing? She's bringing him on in a weird way to the rebellion. And she's saying you're now conscripted to this forever. Like this is part of you, and you're not gonna fuck this up again. Excuse my
like
language.
she's what you dream you could be. So why don't you try to be
now
that?
you owe it to her to be a part of this for the rest of your life and make it work, whether he dies or not.
And then we go to Dr. Gorst's lair.
Which by the way, we see that Bix and Andor and Cassian are in a safe house. The whole three
like
episodes.
the apartment.
It's like a Lego apartment, which I like how Luthen's like, I haven't slept here in years. But I like how like they look out of the window and they can see when Luthen is signaling them by having something
little bat signal out there,
blinking out there. So they're like, so that's when they know Luthen is contacting them by this distant light that blinks.
Well, that seems tenuous at best.
Yeah, I know.
What if they're like in the bathroom or something, or not looking out the window,
or planes flying by and it's blinking? How many times they run it out the door every now and then?
They're like, crap.
Must have it on until they acknowledge that they saw it.
Sure,
but they do get a pretty cool mission.
I wish I could have had that whole episode. Dang.
I know,
What,
right?
that would have been sick.
Just
or about 7 or 8 minutes extra of that or something.
Well, this place where they are, no, this wasn't the place. I don't think it was. Well, there was a scene where 2 Imperial officers were watching a pod race.
Oh no, that was Cyril trying to get in
back
to,
into
get his notes.
office. Yeah. That just popped out.
But again,
like,
those are the details I love about this show. It's like that.
But and then when somebody came in, like they turned off the monitor.
It's
like
so
we're not
real.
supposed to be watching this.
It's very cool. It's very cool.
But yeah, they go in, and I was like, "What the heck is going on here?" And then it was like, "Holy crap, that's Gorst!" And then Bix is standing right behind him. And I was like, "Oh crap!"
Mm-hmm.
And
I like that she's like not the jump scare, but she's the thing that's blurry in the background.
Yeah,
he's the aggressive. Yeah, the
and he's just
aggressor.
like the derp with his little dessert.
He's got his little dessert. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's got his little bag of something, and
it's like a little tart.
Exactly.
She should have taken the dessert with her.
I wanted her to grab it, and when she walked out,
she should have eaten it in front of him.
Bad, yes.
Yeah, while he's sitting there freaking out, listening to the screams.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really wanted her to grab it.
But she straps that thing on his head, and he's like,
well, she puts it all the way up too. If you saw all the power,
like all
dials
the
are up.
way. No mercy.
Because she knows he's only going to be in it for 20 minutes before she can just blow his ass up.
They blow up that whole office.
Dude, let me tell you, I sent this to the chain. The best acting in the whole show is that guard that gets hit at the end by her blaster, and he sells this fall. Man, hits his head on the way down. Man, best fall I've ever seen in a movie. What this guy does. I'm gonna look at it.
Must have been on a mat.
Okay, so this guy gets shot. And then, of course, they get the cool, actions, the action
walking away with
walk
the
away.
explosions.
Cool guys don't look at explosions.
Exactly.
Don't undersell that he just got hit by a shot. Come on.
Well, I'll have to look at that. Okay. Okay.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh man, he bounces.
So good.
Was that the larger guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
He totally just
bump.
I mean, he is down.
Yeah.
But
great.
But then it's great. She meets up with Cassian outside, and they blow up the building, or they had a bomb planted. It was great.
Well, this was
but that's a major terrorist action in Coruscant.
Yeah, I mean that's.
I do wonder. Yeah, they obviously are not going to stay at that safe house anymore.
That's huge.
Why?
That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was thinking. Like, I know that Jared and I had a bit of a different opinion on this. I felt like this 3 episodes, I liked it a little more. I felt things are moving now. Like Ghorman's underway. There's things happening. I didn't feel like much happened in the last one. I thought there was like, character building, but it wasn't like action.
You said, well, I mean, on the Three Stooges planet with those doofuses, and like that went on a little long.
Well, and these not French Ghormans are also kind of like
not
slightly
not
better,
French.
Yeah, but you know what?
better doofuses too. Like I think it's doing a good job. Each set of three is doing a good job of showing how the alliance really needs to become an alliance, because it's just a bunch of unorganized people who want to do something but don't really know what to do.
But I like how you see how they're, you're right. They're not doofuses.
They're gas huffers.
They're good-hearted people that have their heads in the right place, but they don't have the experience to pull it off.
Sure.
And I like how you start seeing how like they're being used in all these different ways by people who are like way better at this than them.
I think conversely, you see the idealism of the Ghormans, and then the fanaticism of Saw, he doesn't care about anything. Like, I think those ideals were burned out of him a long time ago.
Well, that's why he was a liability to the rebellion, because his rebellion was not the rebellion,
correct.
The other rebellion.
Yes,
they were having the Rhydonium rebellion.
I mean, this is what's so great about Rogue One, is that you know what happens. So now all this stuff is going to like come to a head in these next 3 episodes. It's like,
well, there's 6 more episodes left.
6 more. Oh, I forgot.
Although, and I don't know anything that happens in the next one, but I hear that episode 9 is a biggin. I believe that's probably the Ghorman massacre itself.
Well, I mean, think about this, and I thought about this as I'm watching it today, because I watched them all 3 today. I'm like, what's so cool about this? Darth Vader's in this universe right now. Like, he's out there doing stuff. Like, this is really cool. This is a cool time. Palpatine is in office. Darth Vader's out there.
They always talk about, well, I met with the Emperor yesterday.
Yeah.
They're always, but there was something else that came up that it's when the Ghorman said, I think that the ISB is running a shadow government because nobody sees the Emperor anymore.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And, maybe I think it's because at this point in time, maybe Palpatine is a little more reclusive. Like, he's more interested in his Sith stuff. And he's happy to, let the bureaucrats, run the things like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of a waste of his time. It makes him bored.
Yeah, I would say so. But, it's funny how they think that. I mean, I think Palpatine obviously is firmly in control of everything, but, they're like, well, nobody's seen him. And, I think the ISB has a shadow government going on.
All right, let me throw some questions out.
Okay.
Do we think that in the next 3 or the 3 after that we're going to see Jyn Erso?
No.
I'm not saying she's going to be a part of anything, but are they going to have like a run in just to have her in?
I was going to say she's like in that prison.
She's on a prison.
We had Saw Gerrera, and I feel like he knew her. I just want a mention, if not her, I prefer of Jyn, because I feel like she's a huge part of Rogue One. And obviously she doesn't tie in with any of this yet. But she's, like you just said, she's out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
Saw Gerrera could mention her. Someone can mention. I mean, like,
Saw
or we could
her.
see. Or I hear a mention of. I'd hate to be this person again, but Cal Kestis from the video games is also possibly around during this time. And Saw Gerrera met him, so I just want to say that.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the timeline. Like, if Jyn Erso would have still been with Saw at this point in time.
Well, she's. I think she's
like
fully in that prison.
16.
Yeah, 16 when she got ditched.
And I think she's like
she's in her
early
mid
20s.
to late mid 20s probably. So
okay.
Well, she actually says in the movie, I haven't seen him in 10 years or something.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So
are we going to see Grand Moff Tarkin?
Are we going to see Jin's dad, whose name I forgot?
Galen. Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely in the cards.
I think Tarkin's in play. I think Mads Mikkelsen's in play. I don't think Vader the Emperor are, because Tony Gilroy said they're not in it. But Tony Gilroy did say, he addressed a while back, he's like, well, we would not do Tarkin. He was talking about the technology of resurrecting Peter Cushing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, even the way they did it in Rogue One, these days we would do it differently. And I was like, why are you talking about that?
Mm-hmm.
So I think Tarkin's a possibility. And we still don't have K2.
That is my only critique. Is I want
that
K2.
aggravated me. Yes,
he's gonna be in it. He has to be.
I watched that first episode. And I was like, "There's no way they're going to bring K2 into this."
I think
another 3 episodes without him.
I think you're right. They're doing a memory switch into K2SO.
Well, hopefully we'll see in these next 3 episodes. We'll see some K2.
Nice.
Although, it may not be until the last 3. That's the prequel movie to Rogue One.
Oh man, I can't wait.
So, yeah, I think I like the idea of talking about Rogue One when this is over in context of everything we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So this last week was the longest 3-episode series of the 4.
Oh, so it was
the 4 weeks. Yeah, because they were all 54 minutes or something of runtime.
Technically, they were only about
probably like 47 minutes.
47, yeah.
Actually, actual runtime.
It's kind of crazy that like every week we're getting a Star Wars movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. I wish you could do it without the recaps in the middle.
Yes,
and watch it straight through.
Yes,
yeah.
Somebody,
that'd be great.
Somebody,
that's a failure of Disney.
Well, somebody would needs to do that. They should make it like that.
Well, Disney should do it. Disney should release the Andor Chronicle as a watchable, season 1.
Everyone starts with 3 BBY, 2 BBY, and that's like the main crawl of the main movies. That's how those start, and then you just go right up to Rogue One.
I would. Look, it'd be a heck of a long watch, but I would kill to see this in the theater. Like the way it looks, I would love to see this on the big screen.
Oh yeah,
that deserves it.
I would say, yeah. We talked about that last week where Diego Luna was like, they need to do a screening of the last 3 episodes and Rogue One as a double feature movie.
Oh, I would be there.
Did I send you
in the seat?
Did I send you guys the interview where he got caught in the airport with the blaster? Did you see that?
No.
Oh, it's so funny. He's telling this great story in front of a panel. He's on a panel show, and he's like, I had a prop blaster with me, the blaster he had from the ship that he kicked.
Sure.
He's like, I had it with me, and they pulled me over in the airport, and they said, "What is this?" And he said, "I'm explaining it to him." And he says, everyone's coming on board. All the security's there, and he's trying to show them pictures. Be like, "No, look, this is me on set with this. It's fake." And he says, "I'm trying to explain it." He says, "And the only guy who didn't recognize me from Andor. He recognized me from Narcos." He's like, it's really funny, and he obviously got through it, but it was a very funny story.
Did you guys, speaking of that, and then we'll wrap it up because I got to get to bed. This was at one of the Star Wars celebrations before Rogue One came out, and Chirrut and Baze, Baze is the larger guy with the long hair and the burly guy, Well, he was. They were talking. Guy. They were talking on this panel, and
I remember this guy.
English is not this guy's first language. Obviously, he was having, kind of trouble in sort of expressing himself, and he was talking about. He starts talking about the death scene where Chirrut dies, and he says on stage, he goes, when Chirrut die,
and they're all like, "Oh!"
And then they zoom in on Alan Tudyk's face, and he's going. I have to find this clip.
Oh no! I feel so bad.
It just zooms right in on Alan Tudyk, and he's like.
Oh.
Well, I'll say this though, Andor again, because to me, Rogue One is the 4th best Star Wars movie. You got the original trilogy, and you got Rogue One, and then all the others behind that. The fact that we have Andor to build up to this movie, and Andor is turning out to be just as good as Rogue One, is just so much of it. I can't get enough of this, and I'm gonna be really upset when it's gone. But I'm very thankful that it's here because. It's really my favorite Star Wars show, hands down. And the more I get, the more I love. And it's completing the world build for me, is what it's doing. It's very cool.
Yeah. Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie, so I am loving this.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Well, and it's good stuff, and we're gonna keep it coming here. I mean, this is the most consistent we've been with the podcast for probably about 2 years. So we'll come back and see you next week when we talk about 2 BBY, and we'll see if we get K2. And we'll see if we get the Ghorman Massacre and Galen Erso and Grand Moff Tarkin and all this stuff. And we'll see if B2 gets stepped on by an AT-AT.
Andor Dedra, our brother, sister.
No.
Okay, that's fantastic. No. All right. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us. Come back next week. May the Force be with you, and we'll see you next time.
You know you can't live without this content, so subscribe to the Hyperspace, podcasting in the 25th century. Follow us on social media, leave us a review, and join us next time as we take you into the 25th century.